Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We are back with another exciting episode of Delivered, the journey of packaging. We are joined today by Troy Hooper, CEO of Hot Palate America, the parent company of Pepper Lunch. Hey, Troy, how you doing?
Woohoo!
I'm awesome, guys. How are you?
Happy New Year. Mr. 305 coming back to his roots.
Happy New Year, 2025. Here we go.
It's the 6th. By Larry David standard. We can no longer say Happy New Year.
This is true. It's the first business day of the first full week of the new year. So
There
it's
you
over.
go.
You had till Sunday,
There you-
right? Now we're just, it's happy
January.
Here we go.
Are you drinking this January?
I drank yesterday. I think today we will be dry for 4 days a week. I think we're going to do the 4 day a week thing.
I love it.
I love it.
Well, listen, Troy, it's a pleasure to have you. I think I speak for Brad and myself. We are big fans of you personally. I think from the first time we got introduced to you, your passion for the food service industry and hospitality industry really resonated with us. And following your journey throughout what you've done with Pepper Lunch, and I think we're going to get into it today in the episode, we're really jacked up to have met you a couple of years ago, developed a relationship, and we wanted for you to sort of give a brief introduction, touching on your 30 plus years in hospitality, what got you into this hospitality world, and what really ended up driving you to join Pepper Lunch.
Yeah, I mean, the origin story is I was born into it. My father owned a construction company there in Miami where you guys are happily sitting and I'm not. And he specialized in bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. He loved to throw a good party, so we did a lot of entertaining. And, 70s and 80s in Miami was a good time to grow up and have some fun. And I just enjoyed really throwing the party, right? Working, by the way, loved the working part of throwing the party, rushing in from the kitchen and refilling the now what might be called a grazing table or board or a charcuterie board. Back then it was just cheese and ham and such, right? Cubes and crackers. But just grew up in that world and had a passion for it. Always wanted to own a restaurant. So, I was fortunate that with my dad owning a couple of companies, he really instilled in me the entrepreneurial spirit and the fundamentals and put me on a path and said, look, you've got to be an expert. You've got to be a master of your craft. So you better go learn every part of this job if you think you're going to be successful in running a business. And so I started as a busboy at Bennigan's near the Falls, for those of you that are in southern
Love
Florida,
that.
South Miami. Second busiest Bennigan's in America at the time. It was a big brand, giving Fridays a run for his money. And I worked my way up to kitchen manager, and I went to culinary school, and it really just kicked me off on a lifelong journey of hospitality. I've worked in ultra fine dining, fine luxury hotels, Caribbean resorts, super yachts, really just been all over this industry, trying to soak up every aspect from the back of the house to the front of the house, the executive office as we get larger and larger in these brands as we grow up. And, just been doing it my whole career. And a couple years ago in late 22, Pepper Lunch found me. They were bought in 2020. They got some new leadership in place in 21, early 22. And by the end of 22, Yuto Tago found me. And he's our global executive. And he said he needed help in the United States. Originally thought he was just hiring my consulting practice, which they did hire us as a consulting business initially. And ultimately earned a spot and asked that we were invited to bring our team from that group over to be the executive leadership of this, not only in North America, but to contribute to the global, improvement and expansion of this brand. And I joined the company in February of 23. We had about 429 restaurants. We're at 533 today. We were at 15 countries. We're in 17. About to add about 6 or 7 more countries to the list over the next year and a half. And off to the races. Here we go. I inherited a single franchisee with 5 stores, and now I have 9 franchisees with 75 stores coming. We're going to open 3 stores in the next 4 weeks and 5 stores in the next 3 months. And by the end of the year, we'll add another 15 stores to the list, and we're going to double our new store opening cadence every year for the next 3 or 4 years.
Talk about some growth, man. That's quite impressive. I think Your story is incredible. We've always got along because your Miami roots, and hearing sort of the Bennigan story too. A lot of your childhood memories is really, really cool. I think for Brad and I, we're surrounded by these QSR fast casual brands that a lot of people have heard of that are more mainstream, big social media presence, big digital presence, big followings. When we originally heard the Pepper Lunch story, we didn't really realize how big this footprint was globally. And we're talking Singapore, Hong Kong, other parts of Asia. And hearing you now bringing that to the United States and understanding this untapped market, we didn't really get what the cuisine and the experience was till we started working with you. And as we're sitting next to this now, this very unique iron plate sort of mechanism, vehicle for delivering food at 500 degrees, it'd be interesting to understand, with all your experience and everything you've seen, these 30 plus years in hospitality, what really drove you to and get excited about this brand? Because when we see it, it was truly doing something different than all the other brands that we're used to working with. That excited us for the opportunity to work with you. But sort of talk to us, like, what excited you about the brand? How did you think that you could duplicate the crazy growth that they're doing globally, bring that to the US, replicate that sort of experience that is truly one of a kind at Pepper Lunch?
Yeah, the last 6 or 8 years of my career have been focused solely on QSR, fast casual, emerging brands, the small, mid-sized brands that were looking for help in figuring out how to scale. And in that, I got to see a lot of things. And it's just one of those things that you kind of know it when you know it. You got a cup sitting there from Dave's Hot Chicken. They had not even their first store fully open, brick and mortar store fully open, when we ran into those guys and started to get to know that group. And it's just one of those things that you know it when you see it, right? And with Pepper Lunch, I looked at it from a couple of lenses. I'm an operator first. I'm a restaurant owner and operator, and still am, still have my own assets. But when I look at it from that lens, I think about the competition. I think about what is out there. How does a Pepper Lunch compare to a Dave's Hot Chicken? Even though they're different genres, what's so special about a Dave's Hot Chicken? What was special about Blaze? What's unique about Cava? Why are they growing? Why are they growing in consumer interest and customer loyalty and
Totally.
unit level economics? Why are they so strong? Why are they able to grow so fast? Look at Dutch Bros adding hundreds per
Wild
year.
story.
I thought I was going in to be a consultant and came out being asked to join the group as the CEO of the holding company here in North America. They were really obvious. So a couple of them I'll highlight are really the differentiating value propositions for the operator. We are a low labor model business. We operate our stores between 3 is little, really on average 4 to 5 employees per shift, as many as 6, but at a higher performing, higher volume store. So just total low labor, right? That reduces complexity. The less people you have or need to run an operation, the less complex it must be, but the less complex it is for you as the owner. We have a no skilled operation. You don't ever have to have worked in a restaurant because we're not actually cooking. We're not rendering. We're not breaking down. We're not chopping, slicing, dicing in the restaurant. We're not cooking anything. So you don't ever have to have worked in a restaurant to walk into a Pepper Lunch and be a great employee or even a manager or a leader of the group. You can learn the basic restaurant hospitality skills that are necessary. But because of that no skilled, low labor model, we are able to really deliver superior, ROI or EBITDA for our franchise owners, our unit operators. In addition to that, we have no prep. Everything is done for us outside of the store. Sliced, diced, chopped, frozen, vacuum packed to our size and specifications. So that consistency is there both for the employee's performance, but also the customer experience. On the customer side, the idea of not only the cuisine itself, authentic Tokyo-based Japanese teppanyaki for one, but also being delivered in a very unique model, what we call experiential fast casual. I don't know any other fast casual concept that you can walk into, get in and out in under 25 minutes for under $20 to $25 and have an experience. When Chipotle and Blaze Pizza did down the line, build your own bowl, and Sweet Greens came along, now Cava. Yeah, that's about the extent of experience, right? I get to direct and build my own dish. Well, you can do that at Pepper Lunch, but then it comes out at 500 degrees, sizzling,
Right,
steaming.
this bad boy.
The smells, the sights, the sounds are incredible. And then you get to cook it your own way. You get to decide, is your meat medium, medium rare, well done? Do you want extra sauce? Do you want 3 sauces and not 1 sauce? Do you want no sauce? Do you want to add extra salt or garlic chips? You get to really craft your own meal your own way, and everybody does it differently. So then it's shareable. Everybody wants to know what you did and taste your food and taste my food and, get ideas for next time. So that experiential piece, along with the authenticity, really along with, when I found out as well, they had over 400 stores and they were in 15 countries. They've been around for going on 30 years. And that we were backed by one of the largest private equity firms in Japan. It really gave me a lot of confidence that this brand had been tested in the Western market. It was in Australia for about 14 years. It's been in the US at that time for about 5 years. Now it's been in the US for about 7 years in 3 states. There was a there. There was a proof of concept. There was adoptability. We have a store doing $3 million a year in California. So that proved to me there was something there, along with those value props and others, many others. There's a lot of things with this brand that made it unique, differentiated, authentic, and competitive in the market. So I believe we could not only help the brand get stood up in the United States, but also be attractive to franchise partners, and at that, significant franchise partners that are in multi-unit or multi-brands now that would understand the difference and see the value and be interested in getting involved with the brand.
Sure.
Let's go back to the experience for a moment, right? You have this amazing experience in the Far East that's been established for many years. How did you bring that experience to this market, to the United States, replicate that, and give your consumers, that exact same, incredible, hot, palate, sizzling experience? Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, by not being egotistical, audacious American, right? One of the things that's been really important to us is to maintain the authenticity, to not Americanize and honestly whitewash this brand, not to try to adapt it to the United States so that all of a sudden Americans will be familiar and comfortable with it. We want to take the opportunity to educate the American audience to the explosion of ramen, to now the Korean barbecue, to now the Korean and Japanese fried chicken concepts. And we're just a part of that evolution and part of that wave. But really the answer was, what would it need to be done to make this brand not only appealing, but also functionally applicable to the United States? And one of the few things we did is, in the Asia, most of our outlets are food court or food hall model, very small format. They run with 2 or 3 induction burners, 1 to 2 people running the cook station, really not more than 3 or 4 people running the entire kiosk. In the US, we split the workflow so that we could do more large tables. In Asia, you get a lot more of onesie twosies as far as orders, entrees per ticket. Where, in the United States, we tend to have larger groups, families, work groups, school, student groups getting together. So we see a lot more of the 3 to 5 plate orders coming in. And so we improved workflow and added a workstation. So we took a single workstation with 3 burners and split it into 2 workstations of 2 burners, sharing the make station. So we've just sort of optimized for the American workflow and the order cadence and average entrees per ticket. That's really it. Other than that, we really looked at the menu. We spent over a year working on a global scale, regionalizing menus, making sure that the menus were correct for the region. In every country, about 20 to 25% of our menu is what we would call localized, right? In Philippines, you're going to see more sauces, gravies, and cheese than you would see in a lot of other countries. In Japan, we have more options of our Hamburg steak, and our curry dishes are a little bit more expansive there. So there is some adaptability. And so we took a hard look at the U.S., but I'll tell you the one thing I refused to do, and we did not do, even when it was brought up, was, hey, don't Americans like broccoli and mashed potatoes? Well, sure they do. If you go to Texas Roadhouse, but we're not Texas Roadhouse. We're Pepper Lunch, and we want to bring the authentic Asian, inspired and Japanese founded cuisine to the U.S. And we just want to take the time to educate the consumer and invite them in. Once you've come to a Pepper Lunch once, I assure you, not only will you be an expert and be very comfortable, you're also going to crave it in a couple of days, and you're likely going to bring some friends or colleagues back within a week or so to experience it. Because when you're the one that gets to show people what a pepper lunch is, and for them to have such a great experience and an excellent meal, a high quality, hot and fulfilling meal for a very affordable price. It just becomes sort of crave worthy and a fire. It sort of catches fire in the community when we come into a new market.
It's awesome. So go back onto that point a little bit, because you talk about bringing the pepper lunch concept here, and then you talk about, I think you said 6 or 7 locations open with the ability and opening up more franchisees. When you started looking at exploring North America and different markets and different site locations, how did you start to determine what franchisees that you wanted to see? I mean, you talked a little bit about unit level economics from the store level, store in LA or California doing $3 million. Like, that's nice to see for a fast casual, especially because of this low staffing and labor model that you guys have. Like, that's straight to the bottom line. So that franchisee ultimately is going to be making more per store than a lot of these other concepts that we've seen. So I'm curious, did you utilize technologies that we've seen in a lot of this site locations for geographical markets? Did you depend more on your relationship network or multi-store operators? Like, what was the perfect definition or the perfect person that you were looking for to represent the brand right, that understood the economics and how to take this from 7 stores to 70, from 70 to 140, and sort of keep up with that Dave's Hot Chicken trajectory, if you will?
And what was required from the franchisee? Like, what prior experience did they have to have?
Yeah, so, I've long had this thesis. I didn't invent this thesis. Look, Jim Mize is our mutual friend and my close strategic advisor and partner, and many others taught me a long time ago, and it's been reinforced through the results that to grow a brand most effectively and most efficiently, you asked about technology or how we determine a nascent brand is going to be able to grow in the United States. You're right. We use technology. We worked with a group called SiteZeus, geospatial
shout out
visualization
SiteZeus
tool. For us, we geofenced our existing stores going back 4 years. We looked and geofenced competitors or lookalike brands that we thought made sense. We worked with, like I said, a couple of national real estate partners to help collect data and look at what markets would make sense. We looked at why our existing stores were successful, who's the demographic, what are they into, both sociographically and what their life demographics look like. So we took a big data set and a lot of intuitive insights, and we put it together. And that gave us a picture of what made sense. And, our initial analysis said 1,200 pepper lunches in the United States. But that was sort of a tier 1 through tier 3, 4, or an A through a D class store. So we really just took the top of the crop and top of the cream, and we said, what if we just did the tier 1, tier 2 stores, or any store that's going to do over 1.5, 1.8 million or better? And that gave us about 600 stores in the United States. So about half of the total potential cohort. And we're really, really happy with that. We're really looking for about 500 stores to be committed and open in about a 10-year period. And we're on track. We need to sell about 70 to 100 new location deals a year. And if they're all on their targeted development plan, then we'll be able to achieve that.
That's very, very, very exciting. So we'll join the ride with you.
When is Miami coming?
When you help me find one of your friends that wants to be a multi-unit franchise partner in South Florida.
Deal. Maybe you're looking at them.
Yeah. Sounds great. Let's go. Look,
I'd love to talk. That's kind of
the St. Pete region, Tampa Bay.
That's where I grew up.
February 24th. Please mark your calendars and come check it out.
Done deal.
Well, what a perfect segue into the role of packaging and how that has transpired in your endeavor with Pepper Lunch here in the States. You joined Pepper Lunch in 2020. In 2022, you met 2 crazy guys that said they wanted to make a unique piece of packaging for you. In 2025, we're going to roll out that piece of packaging. I'd love to talk about, why we wanted to do this, how we did it, what your experience with us was in creating the piece of packaging, and what you think it represents as you move this brand along into a bigger position here in the States.
Well, you really have taken notes on your podcast model. So this is the part 3 or third act of the show where we do the infomercial. Got it. Yeah, I do that in my show too.
Amazing.
Yeah, look, meeting you guys in early 23 and spending some time with you at the National Restaurant Association show, which is where we really had that epiphany together. We were sort of spitballing and brainstorming what would specialized packaging for our brand look like. Look, we have a really specific product, right? It's meant to be cooked and enjoyed in the store while it's hot. And so to make that food travel has been a struggle for the brand globally for a long time. It is well enjoyed. In some countries, we're at the 24% of sales mark going, out the door, whether delivery or takeaway. In the United States, we're only between 7 and 10%. So there's a lot of upside opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity to discover the brand, through online mechanisms, third-party delivery partners, websites, things like that. So it is an area that we really needed to spend some time and be serious with. And, when we met you guys and we came up with the idea that how could we get this food to our customers in the best possible condition, and you guys helped us understand that there's some technology available. There's different ways to put things together to make that performance of that food to be best possible. And that's really what you guys specialize in. So when we started coming up with some ideas, I said, how could we deliver the brand experience, meaning the hot plate, but also get the performance, there it is, but
That's
also
the
get
real
the
one.
performance of the food being as hot and not mushy and gushy and all that good stuff. One of the core tenets of our ownership group, our private equity ownership group, is sustainability and environmental responsibility. And it's one that's close for me as well as an executive, and luckily shared by most, if not everybody in our company. And so when we put that challenge to you, it's like, how do you get this high performing moisture management, steam management, high heat, oil laden product to somebody in 30 minutes and it still be warm or hot, not mushy gushy. The product and package itself is not oil stained or water laden, but also do that in a way that we can really claim sustainable environmental responsibility. And in this case, a regenerative product. That was a very nice cherry on top, because normally you're giving up that for the performance or the performance for that. So the fact that you guys were able to engineer and put something together that not only delivers our brand visually, because we got our hot plate coming to the guest physically in appearance, but there's a lot of technology built into that, a lot of design engineering built into that brings performance that we're really excited about. And we're going to roll it out
Truly one
not
of
only here in
one.
the United States, but we've committed to rolling it out globally with you.
It's super exciting. I think just part of that journey with you guys all along the last 18 months has really been your involvement, though. I think the understanding of really what that experience is at the end of the day drove us to wanting to perfect this for a really one-on-one experience and really duplicate this hot plate, which is so representative of the brand and what you guys believe in. It's the icon everywhere, and that should be driving people, whether it be a franchisee of interest, whether it be a new consumer experience. This was probably one of the most fun pieces of packaging and projects we've had the chance to work on. So back at you. Thank you. It's been an unbelievable experience. And I think us and the whole team is pretty jacked up to launch this in 25.
Yeah, I think everybody on our team is really excited. I was most excited when our global operations and training and kitchen teams took it back and tested it. Boy, we tested it here in the US and we were impressed. But when their report back was it performed much better than they expected and actually gave them results that they did not expect were possible, both in time and temperature and moisture management, presentation of an experience when they ate the product, and they did I think up to an hour test, every 5 or 10 minutes, up to an hour period. That was the most exciting for me, because then we knew we had gotten it right. They are very prideful. They care a lot about how this product gets to their guest, and for them to sign off on this, not only accept it but actually be excited and be champions of bringing it in, that really is all we needed for the go ahead thumbs up to get it done.
Sizzle it your way. We're ready.
In your 30 years in the industry, have you ever had a supplier fly to the Far East with their R&D team to make magic happen?
I've
in
not
the test
had the
kitchen?
great pleasure. It's been a really cool and exciting experience to go through this. We have not only the Japanese piece of this, the Japanese business culture and belief system and mindset and process culture, but our global operations center is in Singapore, and so we get out of the Japanese and we get into the rest of Asia as far as how that all comes together, and that's been an awesome and interesting learning experience, not only for me and my team, but for all of us together, right? Because we're exporting American and Western things, the franchise business model, technologies to them, and they're bringing us, so many other tools and resources and experiences that it's just been really cool to go through. It's different. It's also, a chance to work on a global brand that is essentially reevaluating and retooling itself from the ground up globally. And then taking those regional necessities into consideration. It's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work locally, a lot of work globally. Yeah, this is
awesome.
This has been a new experience for me, and you guys have educated me, put things in front of us that put us in a position to make the right decision for the brand and for our customer and our franchisee. Right, they're going to be paying for these items, and the cost of these items certainly are more than paper and plastic off the shelf, cheap Chinese stuff that most people can go for and is readily available. But we believe, and we have also shared with our franchisees, and our franchisees have also agreed that it's worth it. At the end of the day, it's absolutely worth it. It's a cost worth bearing. It's a cost worth investing, and it's not insignificant. But ultimately, it's going to stand out. I mean, our product's going to stand out. The experience is going to stand out. The branding is going to stand out. I've not seen anybody take their unique food delivery item or dish or product and authentically delivered in this way like this before. So I think it's going to get a lot of attention when it hits the street.
I can't wait to see your food sizzling in our package. It's going to be fantastic.
Very soon.
So you talk
as soon as
about
you guys make it.
you talk about NRA and sort of us meeting. I guess I would say our annual meeting, since we've had it now twice in a row. We know you're out there a lot as from a networking and one of the bigger personalities in the food service industry, and you have a really deep following because of how authentic you are and what you do for everyone in and around the ecosystem and really bringing awareness to this industry. So just curious, like recapping 2024 into 25 from a food entrepreneur perspective, from a franchisee perspective, if you wanted to answer it a couple different ways, what was the best event that you attended last year? What do you think is the best ones going forward? And I know that's specific to sort of the individuals who are in the ecosystem of food service, but I would say from a food entrepreneur, new emerging growth concept, where would you go from a technology, trends, innovation in 2025? What was your best experience in 24? And then maybe throw an event or something out there that maybe someone wouldn't generally expect, and you're like, you know what, you might be forgetting about this, and you should probably come see me at this one because I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I have to be careful in that I go to just about all of them, and many of them are tied to some big organizations that have sway and way over me. But you know me, I'm not one to mince words and shy away from controversy. But not that there's anything controversial. Look, I think there was a couple of experiences that stood out for me. I think if you're listening to this and you're trying to make this decision, which is kind of why you're asking it the way you're asking it, every conference, summit, convention, whatever you want to call them, they all have their own focus. I mean, some of them are kind of really broad ranging and somewhat similar, but if you really look at the educational track and you look at not just who's speaking, but what's the thesis of the whole show? What's the broader focus of the show's educational track? I go to every single restaurant or franchise related show in the U.S. and almost globally now. I was in Singapore for a global event last year, and I'll be attending a couple of other international events this year. and I don't just attend them. I am speaking on panels and keynoting some of them. So they have different levels of responsibility. But, I would say a couple things. If you are looking for technology, if you're unsure about what your tech stack should be, what you should be thinking about when looking at scaling your brand and growing your brand, and who works with who, and what's the right solutions, ultimately FS Tech in Dallas every year. It's the biggest technology show. I didn't go this year because we were wrapping up our tech stack. I spent 2 years working on our tech stack, but ultimately that's a really good gathering on that stage. If you're looking for equipment, you got to go to National Restaurant Association show in Chicago in May every year. Every piece of equipment, every piece of food, every specialty purveyor. I think if you're going to go to one show, one conference, one convention every year, there's two things about RLC. The education is really good. The vendor hall is very good. But there's nothing better than the networking. I have met some of the founders and CEOs of the biggest restaurant brands in the world accidentally standing next to each other on the lawn having a appetizer. Like, it's just a serendipitous, comfortable space where everybody lets their guard down and everybody's there to sort of pour in, help each other. Well, you could walk up to anybody and ask them what they're doing for an X problem or what they're looking at or who they're working with for a solution. And everybody there is just very open to giving in, giving their information. And on the finance track, there's only one RFDC in November every year in Vegas, Restaurant Finance and Development Conference. But to answer your question about like a sleeper or one people might not expect or be looking at, I think some people look at some of these other regional shows as too small or too specific. There's one called Digital Transformation in Chicago. And that's highly focused on the digital and technology and SaaS products and what people are doing in AI. That's interesting. And then QSR in Atlanta, I went for the first time this year, and I think they have a kind of a sister or co-running program for new folks in the restaurant and franchise industry as well that runs alongside that. But QSR in Atlanta, run by Danny Klein and that group, that was a big surprise. That was a really high quality program. I went into some sessions and learned something which doesn't happen at every show. So I was really excited about the programming there. It's a long list.
Here's a question: Do you ever unpack your bag and like do the laundry and like put it back in the drawer, or just go like wardrobes. Bag, laundry, back to bag on the flight?
No,
two full wardrobes.
Two identical pieces of luggage.
Noted.
And actually, I've gotten it down to one. It's called a half day. It's a duffel bag that opens up and you put all your hanging clothes and shoes, and it all rolls up into a duffel bag. It's that most of the time. But I literally have two sets. And I learned in 23. I learned don't come home. I would come home for 8 or 12 hours, and that's a killer. Fly halfway across or all the way across the country, be home 8 or 10 hours, get back in the car and go get on a plane again. So I'm doing a little bit less time at each show. I'm going to as many shows or events or speaking engagements, but I'm popping in and popping out a little bit more. I'm there for a day and a half rather than 2 or 3, just to like, have some sanity and get some work done, by the way. Actually have to still run a company.
I hope you're committed to one airline.
It's funny enough, I'm not. I am committed to one hotel brand. I'm a Hilton guy, so everything goes Hilton only. I'm narrowing down the airline thing. I am getting a little bit more, dedicated to a couple of them. But look, it's about who gets me where I need to get when I need to get there at a good value.
Love it.
So Troy, final question. Maybe taking a slice out of the pineapple perspective questions, if you will. And just for everyone that's listening, that's Troy's podcast, which he has some incredible guests on, and give it a listen. 2 final questions. What does hospitality mean to you? How you kick off your show? And Brad, last question for him.
I'd like to know what your best takeout or delivery experience in the last 6 months has been, and why.
Okay, hospitality for me is how you make people feel. So it depends on what the purpose of that experience is, right? Whether you're taking people on a hike or you're delivering a Michelin star experience or a spa, or you're having people to your house for a wake after a funeral. Hospitality is everywhere. I think hospitality is an opportunity everywhere you go. For me, it's when I go into a QSR, whether a fast food restaurant or something, or even a gas station, and I don't expect any kind of high level hospitality, but then you get somebody who actually cares a lot and they really deliver with high energy and a big smile, and they seem to be happy to do what they're doing with and for you. That's hospitality.
Makes all
to
the
me. And
difference.
so that can be anywhere for anybody
It's awesome.
doing anything. Brad, to answer your question, it's funny. I don't eat here very often, and it happened in the pandemic, which is what's made me eat there more than I ever had. But my best takeout or delivery experience has been Lucille's Barbecue. A kind of a national or more than regional size barbecue chain,
Yep.
corporate chain. They just really thought it out. If you order enough for a family, it comes in a box. It comes in a very sturdy, handle-topped cardboard box, branded on the outside simply. But then everything inside fits like a puzzle. It's a very well thought out. You could tell that they have a lot of pieces of packaging. They have a lot of different sizes of things, but that they figured out that those packaging pieces mean something to each product, and that was thoughtful. They're not just putting a lot of things in the same sort of clamshells. So as a takeaway experience or a delivered experience, that is still one of the best. Look, it's barbecue. It's expensive. You're paying for it. I'm sure that they're building in those higher costs for package and product, but at the end of the day, you get it to your house and you take it out and you feel good about what you get, how you get it, and how you present it to your family or your friends or your colleagues at work. So I haven't found too many takeaway experiences that have wowed me, to be honest with you.
There you have it. Well, you haven't eaten at Pepper Lunch with their new upcoming packaging, so that might
I
change
have
the
in a
game
test
a little bit.
environment, but no, we have not. I can't wait to go on an app, ideally the Pepper Lunch app this year, wink, wink, and order food from my nearest Pepper
rumbling.
Lunch and get it in 20 to 30 minutes and experience it that way. That's going to happen in the next few months, so I'm really looking forward to that.
It's coming in hot.
I hope it
Love
better
it.
come in hot.
Well, Troy Hooper, CEO of Hot Palate America, Pepper Lunch. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast. We love working with you. We love hanging with you. We'll see you soon at NRA in a couple of months, and it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Great to be with you.